Shootout.com here in Vancouver, British Columbia after UFC 74 with Firas Zahabi. He leads Rory MacDonald to a victory over 15 minutes over Tyron Woodley this evening. Firas, talk a bit about what Rory was able to do tonight. Certainly followed the jab-based game plan, was able to take Tyron apart that way. It seems like exactly the kind of thing you preach and exactly the kind of thing you enjoy seeing out of your fighters.
Yeah, I think Joe Rogan said it best. It was power versus technique. Both of them have technique, both of them have power, but Woodley, he's born with a type of power that, it comes along once in every 100,000 athlete. You don't see a body like this very often. And Rory was able to neutralize his speed and his power, and, boxing skill and Muay Thai skill prevailed, I believe.
Rory was asked, both by Rogan at the post-fight presser, what's working for you? Why is it different? Rory obviously isn't the most outspoken guy. I'm sure he's introspective, but he's just not a guy that is able to get those things out. As someone who's with him every day and someone who's kind of in charge of getting in his head, why do you think it's been so different for Rory after the Robbie Lawler fight?
There's so many things. One, we're surrounded by so many great trainers. Training GSP, I got in touch with so many great trainers. We got so many different perspectives. We did a lot of touching up, a lot of reformulating the product. The formula, the skills. We tucked in a few holes. We covered a few bases that needed to be covering, and it's always going back to the drawing board. You go to sparring, go back to the drawing board, and Robbie Lawler, he fought a smart fight that night, and he outdid us, and we're going to go back to the drawing board, and that's what we did, and you have a new product now.
Wasn't this fight, but I thought there was a formative, impressive moment in the fight with Demian Maia. Round 3 might have been 1919 stuff. Round on the line, fight on the line. Rory's taken down. Instantly, he recognizes, I need to push away, get back up. It was very different from the round 3 against Robbie Lawler, where Lawler was able to get on top, and it just seemed like he, if not gave up, then was resigned to being on the bottom. Talk me through the last part of the Maia fight and then heading into that fight. Did you see something in that fight that let you know, all right, the kid's got it back on track. He's kind of getting what we're preaching and getting how to become a higher level MMA fighter?
That fight was so dangerous because it's such a unique fight. You're fighting a guy who's a specialist. Try finding a guy who can mimic Demian Maia and then try to work through the troubleshooting. It's very difficult. So going into the fight, we're 100% sure. Can Maia consistently get the takedown? He's been doing it to everybody at welterweight. After round 1, though, I was very confident Rory was going to put him on him. I don't know why. I just was very confident that Rory saw the worst of it, and he shut him down. And you're right, round 3, people forget how close it was. If Maia stayed on top in round 3, he would have won the fight. But Rory had it good enough jiu-jitsu to move the hips and get back to his feet.
Tyron Woodley, especially after round 2, his nose is bloody, his mouth is bloody. He looked very dejected, almost taken out of the fight entirely. Is that something that you keyed on at all? Because it seemed like with the game plan, the jab, and moving it back to the fence, Woodley not only wasn't active, but he really just didn't seem like he had anything to offer and seemed really discouraged by the way the strategy played out. Was that something you sensed watching it through the fence?
Yeah, no, if you can neutralize a guy's bread and butter, that's what happens. And I think Rory did that, and that's what the game plan always is. Neutralize the guy's bread and butter, find his weakness, and hurt him on his weakness. And when that happens, that's what happens. You can't really do anything. You're sitting duck. Your gun doesn't work. Your missiles don't work. Nothing's working. What do? You pray. You try to pull something out, but not easy.
Rory's jab is obviously the thing that continues the straw that stirs the drink for his game, but people look at his game back when he was with Toshido and David Lee and came into the UFC and just say he was so much more aggressive, there was so much more offense. Firas Zahabi ruined him. Firas Zahabi in the jab. He threw more combinations tonight. He mixed in more leg kicks. Obviously, you want the jab to be a constituent part of that, but what kind of fighter do you imagine Rory MacDonald blossom into? And don't say a well-rounded fighter who does everything well. When he works behind the jab, what is it in your ideal form that you see? Is this a guy that's ripping head kicks one after the other like the BJ Penn fight? Is this a guy that's dropping levels and digging to the potty? What do you think the idealized form of Rory MacDonald looks like or fights like?
Well, first off, David Lee did a phenomenal job with Rory. Rory was coming back and forth at a point, and we really clicked. And David Lee is a great trainer. He's a world-class trainer. And my punching style is different, yes, but the two most accurate punchers in welterweight division, the highest, most accurate punchers, is George St. Pierre and Rory MacDonald. And I think when you land a lot of punches, I think that's exciting. But that's boxing, too. They're using boxing skills. If you want to see guys brawling, you got to go see maybe lesser fighters. You go to the local shows, you'll see guys brawling. You expect a guy who's ranked number 2 to fight a guy who's ranked number 3 and go toe to toe and bang for bang, and who's gonna win? It's the tougher guy. I think people should be more impressed. You should be happy. You take a guy so big and so strong like Tyron Woodley, and you shut him out. You use boxing skills. The guy doesn't even touch you, and you hit him over and over again. That to me, that's martial arts. That's impressive. And I think we have more respect from the boxing world. When they look at us, a lot of times they look down at us and say, you guys don't know how to box, you just brawl. But when they see guys like Rory and George, they're like, hey, those guys can box. Those guys are talented, and this is a skill. There's a lot of other guys other than George or Rory, but what I'm saying is that people, I think, have to be more cultured a bit in what elite fighting is and understand the game more.
The two fighters that have beat Rory in the UFC, both Carlos Condit as well as Robbie Lawler, they're different fighters, but they're still aggressive fighters. They're fighters that like to go forward, look for power shots, try to hurt people. If you look at Rory's contemporaries who are the elite title contenders right now, all of them you would describe as pretty aggressive fighters. Johnny Hendricks is certainly an aggressive fighter. Robbie Lawler, Matt Brown, Hector Lombard, Dong Hyun Kim, these are fighters that have power, that attack in a variety of ways, that knock opponents out. In a lot of cases, especially like a Hector Lombard, really seem to like hurting people. The jab's designed to take that kind of stuff away, but how do you think like Rory's style and the way that you're working on the jab and evolving his game plays against guys that are going to come out and just try to tear him apart?
I think the jab, it keeps you healthy. It keeps the brain healthy, it keeps the face healthy. But of course, the jab, Rory, he's not a master of the jab. He's very good at the jab, but when he masters the jab, he's going to be able to attack even more. He's going to be able to punish his opponents even more. And if you look at how much work he did in the fight, I think when you're behind on the cards, you have to open up more. You have to take the risk, and that's how you knock it out. You put him behind, he opens up, and you knock him out. Sometimes the fighters don't take that risk. Tyron, he did a great fight, but he didn't open up as much as I thought he would. He didn't take the risk. Even at the bottom, at the end, he was holding. If you're behind 2 rounds, you got to get up. You got to scramble for something, and then submissions open up, finishes open up. It's just sometimes it's the chemistry between the two. It's not necessarily our style. We look to finish, of course, 100%.